So today we have the honor of welcoming Dr. Hong-Jae Park, who is a senior lecturer with the School of Social Sciences of Western Sydney University, Australia. He is a native of the Republic of Korea, who received both his Master of Social Work and Doctor of Philosophy degrees from the University of Canterbury, New Zealand. In January of 2017, he has joined Western Sydney University after his 7 years of service at the University of Auckland. His teaching focus has been on the advancement of the Master of Social Work program, enhancing its curriculum and pedagogy, as he has taught a range of undergraduate and postgraduate courses in social work and human services. Dr. Park has maintained a long-standing interest in future-oriented filial piety or intergenerational solidarity, and has conducted research projects on social lifespan after death, elder abuse and neglect, and wakapapa and filiality. He also has a distinct research agenda on later life migration, addressing social isolation and loneliness among older people living in a foreign land, and leads this agenda within social work research and practice in the Asia-Pacific region and beyond. He has published many peer-reviewed articles and reports, book chapters, and a co-edited book during the last 5 years. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Park to our collective learning space. Thank you so much for joining us, and welcome to UCLA.
Before I use the microphone, you said to me, myself, okay, I come from Australia, as they said. I met Elliot actually in India. India, I had some problem around my eating. How many people from India? Where is it from? Sorry. And South Africa. Okay. Don't be offended by comment here. We have a beautiful morning session, and then after before the session, we went to have the lunch together all the time every day. Once you enter the room, there's even a dining room there. There's a lot of some items over there, but all covered by something else. So one plate, another one, and there's some vegetables. And if you open one, what you can see? Food, yeah. What kind of food you can see there? Curry? Spicy food. Spice food? Yeah, Indian curry. Yeah. Yellow color? Actually, I didn't want to have too much curry anyway, so my difference. Yeah. I opened. Oh, this is not much. And lots. We go another open. Okay, back. No more. Another color. Slight different color. Another one. End up with nothing on my plate. I didn't know India could so much life. So that's different color and different taste, obviously, different meat. Like plain or something. But obviously for me, all the same anyway. So end up with nothing, some vegetable, and I went back to my queue again because I don't be just empty in my stomach. But again, something like. But it was an extremely good experience for me anyway in India. knowing how people behave, how they think about their social development and social overlay. It was kind of eye-opening opportunity for me. Even I was there as a academic. I brought 3 students from our university, and they did it extremely well. Working with Indian students from other parts of the world, extremely experience for them to develop their social organization, become a leader for social work. You are here, same position. You're so privileged today to be here. Because you are not just a social work student, because you are the leader. Important, very important person in social work. Not only in your country, but also around the world. This is something you need to develop during your stay at UCLA. I know here everything is quite big. Last night I spilled my water because I just tried to hold my cup, but I didn't know how big your water cup is. So I missed all, and then the water just spilled out. I still need to figure out how big your coffee cup. This morning I just ordered just regular mocha. Always very expensive. So expensive for me. I saw this 5.5 or something, and the person asked me more than 5.5 anyway. So there's something else. Anyway, very strange for me. But again, regular mocha, there's a big size regular mocha in Australia. So still there are a lot of things you need to be familiarize yourself anyway. But the point is here. What kind of social work leader you want to be there after this 10-day conference? That's a very, very important point. You are not just coming here to enjoy sunshine. You are here to become a world leader in social work. There's no competition here among you guys, only collaboration among you guys. If you collaborate with each other, you can get more. If you don't do that, then you can only get the impression that, oh, America is not my country because it's too expensive. I don't know you got my message here. The point is here. Just remember, all your writing around here is about collaboration. Become a leader in the world, not only your country, but also in the world. Okay, today I have Troy and Gavin. Okay, please stand up and just introduce yourself. This is my
Yes.
Come on, guys.
Thank you, boss.
You just want me to introduce myself.
Yeah, yourself, your country.
I'm Gabby from Australia. Hong-Jae was the first lecturer I had when I started my master's program. So, you know, and I'm still here, so it was pretty good.
I'm Troy from Sydney, Australia. Same. Hong-Jae was my first lecturer at Sydney program.
I'm appointing you guys to Troy and Gabby as my kind of assistant fellow today. My teaching anyway. It's not about teaching, but education. How long been in Australia, Gabby and Troy?
I was born there.
Don't worry about it. I'm not asking your age. A long time. I've been in Australia just five years now. So I'm quite new
Hmm.
in terms
Oh,
of
can I-
my
Can I put this in your pocket, maybe, or you can, okay.
in terms of my work in Australia, quite new, just 5 years. But before that, I actually worked at University of Auckland in New Zealand. And my area is actually about all the migrants leaving their home country after their retirement to join their family in the host country. I'm studying these issues for whole my academic career, and I end up with my topic is about all collaboration, cooperation among generations. So from now, I'm focusing on my topic is intergenerational solidarity. Intergenerational solidarity. That's a Western term, obvious English term, intergenerational solidarity. But from Eastern Asian side, the term is slightly different. We call it filial piety. Filial piety. Looking after your parent, because your parent, not because, but as your parent, have looked after yourself. And then beyond that, I'm talking about kind of connectedness between living generation and after living generation, past generation. What kind of relationship we can bring? What kind of relationship we can have with those already passed away? Okay, we are living in the world where new technology, innovation, and change become more important than traditional relationships. Innovation means you need to destroy tradition, because tradition trying to keep holding all the passion, the values all the time. People believe. That means you have to find a new way to go all the time, because technology will help you develop innovation all the time. But one thing we can't change is your parent. You can't change your ancestors. My point is the relationship between parents, children, doesn't matter whether they are living together or not, doesn't matter they believe their parents are their parents or not, you do have a parent. If you do have your parents, then you do have your ancestors. 100 years before, you do have your ancestors. How about your relationship with your father, mother, grandfather, grandmother, grandfather, grandmothers, mothers, fathers? We don't know very much, because we want to see the future rather than the past. We not trying to, but we ignore what happened before our generations, before our generations. Technology actually doesn't help us understand our past generations. That's the gap we do have. If people die, social workers turn around back because their job finished. We're only trying to have people living. We only try to understand what the person, your client has, rather than their relationship. That's the gap I have to say anyway, and that's the area I'm researching. Whether we can ignore what has
been done by our ancestors or fathers, grandfathers, grandmothers? I don't think so. We do have a lot of wisdom, a lot of ideas, resources from our past generations, and we have to recognize them. Even my father passed away a few decades ago. You possibly say my father is nothing, but for me, my father is everything. I want to learn from him, even he is not here. I feel emotionally, psychologically rich enough because I do have something from my past generations. I don't have money enough to buy mocha, 2 cups of mocha this morning, but I don't feel poor. I feel rich enough because I do have spiritual, emotional, psychological, cultural connections with with our past generations. Then what we can learn from them? That's your homework. Think about what you can learn from them. If you want to know more about kind of social relationship, not actually social relationship, but the kind of invisible relationship with your ancestors, Google my name again, find out my research articles, and then you can read my articles more about that part. From this concept, I actually developed kind of lifespan, different type of lifespan. How many years we have as a human being to live? Anybody knows? My respected teaching assistant, Gabby.
Like around 80.
80? No. It's too short. Anybody knows how long human beings have their lifespan so far? Anyone from psychology background? Oh, no. Everyone studies social work only? That's interesting. Yep.
72.
72. That's very different challenging. Okay, human being living possibly technically say around 125 years. That's a lifespan. Scientists believe. Technically say you can live more than 120 years from now. That's the lifespan we are talking about. When you actually learn about lifespan development or whatever. How long you're actually living is different matter. But human beings can live at least 120 or 125 years scientifically. So that's the human lifespan at the moment. But I don't think that's the right way to understand our life, our human life. Because even you die tomorrow, not you, sorry about the English term. Even I die tomorrow or today, I possibly still have some impact on my friend, my family, or my child. I can't say my children anyway because I have only one daughter, like Gabby. And she was a little bit naughtier than you, I think. But I have my daughter, and she will remember me, even I die now. So I still possibly alive for other people, like 10 years, 20 years, or even 50 years. I actually extend the human lifespan to that side. So I will be still alive or surviving after my death for those people who are remembering me. So that's part of my life too. Even I'm dying tomorrow, today, I will do something else for that part of my life. Even people are dying tomorrow, they do have something else to do anyway, because they know their children, their friends, their families are going to remember them. So death is not the end. Death is a starting point for another relationship. The concept is kind of paradigm shift here. Then you are going to you need to prepare your whole life plus extra your life. If the concept is going to be accepted by someone else, social workers, researchers, practitioners, policymakers, then your end of life care or hospice care or your gerontological social work will be changed, because there is another thing you need to do. You have a client who are almost end of life stage. You can ask as a social worker, how are you? How do you feel today? At the moment, social workers only ask one question, how are you? Because they understand, they know, the person will be die soon. There's no other questions. They couldn't say you are not going to die tomorrow. They only check whether they are still okay. But if you understand what I'm saying here, social lifespan, then you have one more question. Or two, saying, how do you want to be remembered by your family after your death? What is your hope, your wish around that? You can start your conversation, meaningful conversation with your client who are going to die soon, because that's very important for them. Social workers do need to understand that part. Your service quality will be improved. And the person's life, quality of life will be improved by that. The relationship between generations will be improved by that. Does it make sense? Any objections? If you just hands up, then Troy and Gabby will kill you anyway. Any other questions? To be honest, so thank you for your question. So to be honest, I have to reveal that Troy and Gabby, they were selected by the faculty members because they are top student in our program. Believe me, believe me. They never miss any kind of assessment. Not what I'm saying. The highest marks in their assessment. I don't know about this accidental or whatever. But my understanding is they are very engaged. They are almost PhD student at the area, and also they are leading their peers all the time in their community. They do have a WhatsApp, Facebook all together among themselves. They not inviting me to. I don't know why anyway. I don't know why. And I don't want to join anyway. Because I just ruin my feelings all the time if I joined. But they are actually active in leading the all student issues or the academic issues all the time. My guess is half of the conversation is about their lecturers. like Hong-Jae, he's quite old man now, or whatever. Anyway, but doesn't matter. They do actually. So that's why they actually selected. I'm very sure everyone here from your host, your partner universities are the same position over here. And this is opportunity, as I said. You'll be connected with others, as I said. You will be connected with your past, next generations by yourself through this lecture. Okay, now do you have my slides on hand? Enhance yourself? No, okay, then I have to cover my slides. How many minutes I have now? 2 minutes.
1 hour.
1 hour?
Yeah.
Are you kidding?
You can take the time that you need.
Oh, sure. I try to avoid my lecture anyway, but still I have 1 hour. For me, 1 hour is not 1 hour. 1 hour means 1 hours. So, okay, where is my keyboard things?
Yeah, so you can, it's this little arrow.
Oh dear. Anyway, I'm talking about today anyway, older migrant, a great number of older people you can read, move to another country at an old age to join their family members across the world. An example is the group of later life migrants who are initially left behind in the homeland and then subsequently follow their children to live closely in the destination. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah, so your children left your country to go to Australia, America, UK, New Zealand. That's 4 English-speaking countries at the moment receiving their migrant, and then the parent join and you later after a couple of decades or whatever, and join you to live together or closely. Initially left behind, the wording is slightly judgmental, to be honest. I don't like that, but people using that wording anyway, because parents at that age doesn't need to be left behind because they are independent, dependent. They are all independent, but just to emphasize the relationship anyway, I am still using migrants who are initially left behind in the homeland and then subsequently follow their children to live closely in the destination nation. This lecture will focus on my research on new emerging pattern of migration by older people in Australia and New Zealand only. It will look specifically at my latest findings from the research into emerging issues associated with the late life migration, including loneliness and social isolation among all the migrants. And then I'm briefly talking about anomic elder abuse and lonely death, bystander attitude toward the migrant parents in transnational family settings. Those terms don't worry about it because I made up anyway. There's no textbook to define those definitions at the moment. I am developing my own definitions around that. But I don't think that's too difficult to understand because this conference is all about social justice. All about social justice, particularly focusing on social isolation and loneliness among different groups. So I'm talking about the issues, social justice issues here for particularly people living in a host nation at their old age. This lecture will challenge your trend views about migration in later life and discuss some implications for social policy and social practice concerning the vulnerability of old migrants from non-speaking backgrounds. So my research area is more people with CALD in Australia means cultural and linguistically different people. So living in Australia, like myself, I'm Korean, South Korean, and living in Australia, my first language is not English. Sometimes I don't speak English. And sometimes I can't speak English. So that's kind of wording we are talking about. Yeah. So key learning outcomes today is after attending this session, you can articulate the importance of understanding about the issues facing later life migrant and its implications for social practice and method. Second, demonstrate a thorough understanding of the role of social workers in social work with all the migrants and their families, engaging in critical reflection on the use of two concepts, filial piety and anomic abuse in practice. I'm going to possibly spend a couple of minutes to explain filial piety and anomic abuse today because that's very important for your key concept here, social justice for all the migrants. And then identifying strengths and areas for future development around those concepts. Recently, the global migration profile is no longer dominated by young working age population. And the complexity of aging in a foreign land is very, very important issue because so many older people living in Australia and New Zealand, but they can't actually speak English and they can't actually get sufficient support either from their families or the society per se. So this is something we are going to talk about today, if we have time. And the issues to ponder today is later life migration means, and secondly, family-based chain migration, cross-cultural adaptation in later life, transnational families, aging in Anomic, and social isolation, loneliness, use of technology. Terms are used interchangeably, so later life migration, elderly migration, retirement migration, family chain migration, all the same. Only one definition from UK is zero generation migration. Zero generation migration. Dr. King and his colleagues use this zero generation migration as a kind of a parent of first generation migrants who are initially left behind in the migrant country of origin and who may subsequently follow their children in migration or engage in transnational back and forth mobility. So their definition is slightly clearer than others at the moment, but this is some stage this is slightly awkward because zero generation doesn't actually imply anything kind of, because if you move to another country, you become a first generation. Your children become the 1.5 generation because they start their life from that country. And your parents actually start from, not starting from, but because you are first generation, your parents is zero generation. That's the kind of idea for this concept. But I don't think that's perfectly correct. Nobody wants to clarify this kind of definition at the moment. But because the power from the power around the area, because they are actually studying in the UK, and people just trying to follow their definitions at the moment. But you can see there are different types of migration at all ages, because if you are independent and then coming to the United States, you are the first generation migrant, because the United States government wanting to be you didn't want you to come to New Zealand, New United States, because you have a labor power. And then after years, you become all the migrant from there. And you're still aging in place because you've been here for a long time. You can speak English and you have a job here. But if you're coming later, after your retirement from your home country, that's a retirement migration, but still you are independent, you have money. You move to another country because you have money, you want to live there. That's a retirement migration. Amenity seeking, like you want to move after your retirement in the United States, you want to move to another country because you want have cheap or a quality lifestyle there, or a little bit clean environment. So you want to go another country for your retirement. That's the retirement migration we are talking about here. But if you are not independent, that means dependent on your parent like that, then you are 1.5 or second generation migrant. And then if you're living there forever, then you're almost naturalized. So you come to United States early, like as a child and living there forever or long time, then and aging in place, that means you are naturalized here, even you're dependent migrant. My point is here, filial migration. Filial migration is term I'm using only. But filial migration means you're actually coming to the United States because your family is living here. You don't want to live here in America all the time, but you want to live here because your children are around here. You are still dependent because you cannot come by yourself because the government, the American government doesn't allow you to come. They allow you to come to America, Australia, New Zealand because you have your children here. So still they are dependent, sponsored by their family member here. And their migration here around. They are dependent later movement. If they come here, younger age, they are different size. So even if they older migrant, there are even now here 4 different types of older migrant. So when you're using older migrant, when you're doing your assignment or research or your practice, older migrants are not the same as. There are, even now you can see there are 4 different types of older migrant. You must be careful whenever, anyway, do your research, whether they are coming early year or are they coming like as a first generation, or they actually coming here at an old age, whether they are dependent, whether they're independent. Because their issues facing them anyway are different, Their capacities are different. Their abilities are different in your host countries. That's the key point. That's the starting point we need to debate. You need to discuss around migrant policies, migrant practice, immigration practice for those different types of all the migrant, all the people. Immigration policy, there's, as I said, temporary visas, permanent residents, naturalized citizens, and level of cross-cultural adaptation also different. Commuters between the host and homeland coming and going all the time. And then double absence, particularly all the migrants coming to country at a late age. They are not here and no there. So that means they can't actually have cross-cultural adaptations fully in their host country, but also they actually don't have sufficient connections in their home country because they actually moved out. So they are not here, nor there, between. That's what we called double absence. And dual belongings, sometimes they are here and there, because they actually adopt all differences in their host country, and also say keep their connections in their homeland. So dual belongings, another term you can use, or fully localized, because they actually want to be the part of the host society only. So they ignore everything before, like their home culture, home language, or whatever lifestyles, and then they start new life in the host society. But that actually not almost happening for later life migrant. And then we can focus on filial migration only now. Filial migration, later life migration for family reunion, where all the adults, all the people migrating in later life to join their migrant children, and thus are able to maintain close family networks to fulfill their family roles functions. What values underpin filial migration? Number one, could be family relationship, because they want to keep their relationship with their family members living in host country. Number two, humanitarian or compassion. Family need and right to be close, help each other. So like those four immigration countries are likely to accept migrant parents to come to America, UK, or New Zealand and Australia. Not many, but few of them. We are going to talk about that part if we have enough time. Don't worry about my slides. I already gave these slides to Amy, so you can ask Amy to share my slides if I couldn't cover all slides. May I take my kind of liberty of having short break now?
Okay.
5 minutes.
Sure, whatever you think, yeah, whatever you would like to do, absolutely.
Yep. So Amy said you can have 5 minute break from now, and we can join my slides after that.
Perfect. Yes, that's great. Thank you. I'm just sorry. I just starting the recording because I don't want to miss anything that you say. Thank you.
To be honest, I don't know. But how's your feeling on this morning? All good? It looks like a lecture actually, but this is not actually a lecture. This is kind of sharing your ideas, opinions, and views. If you try to listen to me only, you don't get anything. Yeah. If you try to challenge yourself by listening to me, that's the point. I'm talking about slightly different topics today anyway. And up to you, how much you receive my message. It's absolutely up to you. You need to challenge yourself, you need to test yourself. That's the point. I don't repeat my message all the time because I only have now, I think, half an hour, probably. But you are not going to have my lecture anymore, except Shuei. They have to listen to me anyway. Otherwise, they don't get too much. Others, you don't need to listen to me. You need to take my message. You need to take my message for yourself and for your country. How different situation in your country doesn't matter because there are older people who having problems like this. There are people needing their intergenerational solidarity, intergenerational collaboration, intergenerational cooperation. Let me tell you one more thing. Oh, I came here yesterday. Oh, this campus is big for me. I even have no clue about thereabout. I went to the canteen or something for my breakfast. I was surprised because they are so generous. They asked me to eat everything I want. Never happened in Australia. You have to pay a lot of money for one apple, another banana, or another fruit every time. It's not fair. I was a little bit scared because we are going to host. We are expecting to host another session in Australia in the near future. I don't think Austrian Prime Minister Oliver can support your visit over here. This is an amazing place. As I said, your plate is big, your cup also quite big, everything is all big. Even banana quite big. The problem is here. The problem is here. Oh. How this university? How can this university make money to support this kind of amazing program for you? Give me an answer, please. You are not thinking so much.
Really high tuition rates.
Oh, that's interesting point. How they the university make money in America to learn their programs like international programs or whatever. Nobody knows. Nobody wants to think about it because that's not your area. Where is your social work imagination this morning? Just give me just one tip. Yep.
UCLA just agreed to join the Big Ten, which is a different sports conference,
Okay.
to get more TV revenue.
TV engineers.
So lots of sports TV revenue.
Okay, that's good thoughts actually. Yep. So university can make money. And use it.
Universities make money off of research.
Research.
Research is commercialized and
Okay.
makes millions of dollars.
That's a big part of it. Yeah, yeah.
I don't pay enough working people study. And people.
Okay. So they can take some money from others. How about international students? Nobody. Yes. Yes. Okay. This is, yeah.
I was also going to say our MSW program also generates a lot of money because they have like an extra professional degree fee
Yeah. From international students.
from like all of us,
Or,
and the international students even more.
now we got the answer. Good university around the world. Partially, I'm not talking about whole money. Partially, they get money from international students. We need to be a little sensitive around that, but we need to be a little bit plain. Best university, a better university, high degree, a high education, they do get international students as many days as they can. Our university, not best university in Australia, but we do have a lot of international students. I have a class like a year one student, I have around 150 students. Half of our students will be international students from different countries. Big number. Where the money comes from there for those international students. The country, they pay money for international students? No. Their parents, mostly their parents. My conclusion is, those parents in that country, those countries, actually feeding many universities around the world. I'm not kidding. Look, if they change their mind, what will happen? If they don't want to support their children to go to another country to study there, then what will happen? A Chinese parent doesn't want to pay money for their child studying in Hong Kong anymore, in America anymore. The students, young fellow, they can't go America to study because they don't have money enough. Then America may not have any more Chinese students over there. Then you are not here today. What I'm talking about? Intergenerational solidarity. Intergenerational cooperation. Intergenerational collaboration. Intergenerational relationship. Because of that relationship, all those relationships, we are running this program. The university still survive.
you understand what the universities means here. Those universities still survive because of those parents. So the relationship, intergenerational relationship is extremely important in terms of your personal lives, but also whole society and the world. Because of that relationship, people move around the world. Because of their globalization in education, this kind of extremely good university can support the next generation. Imagine, just imagine, I just repeating, imagine if those parents don't want to support because they are living longer, they want to have their own life, but they don't want to pay money too much for their children anymore. That's happening in the Western world. In the Western world, parents don't pay money for their children studying university forever, because there are other things they have to do. If those parents stop supporting their children, then the world could be different. What you can do? Do you still want having the world, the intergenerational relationship remain? Or do you want to change the world, like no parents support their children after their high school? Or every country, they must be westernized, like UK, USA, Australia, like that. So government pay money for their university student. That's something you need to think about. How important the intergenerational relationships between generations. From there, filial migration is one of the problems. Because your parents wanting to come to your host nation because they actually support you, whatever whatever the children have so far. So they actually want to come to your country, and then that's the main reason for their migration. Then how about the treatment of the host country for those older generation? How the main society sees those older migrant in your home country? If you come from Australia, New Zealand, America, or UK, or other immigration countries. Do they believe, anyway, do they believe all the migrants still important in terms of the whole population? Or do they believe those old migrants are just a burden to the host society? That's the question I'm asking today. There could be three different types of perspectives around that part. You have old migrants coming at old age to your country. or you have all the migrants moving out to another country from your home country because they want to live together with their children there. How we can actually conceptualize those type of migration here. And from my understanding, there are 3 different types of perspective. It's kind of a theory. Number 1, human capital theory. Number 2, human liability perspective. Number 3 is filial piety perspective. Let me introduce a little bit about these 3 different types of perspective. Number 1, a human capital perspective. Human capital perspective. Like New Zealand government accept all the migrants because they want to let immigrant reunited with their parent. It's important for younger generations because having grandparents around themselves will be very useful in terms of children, child care, and also their cultural identity. And that's kind of a human capital perspective. Even they have to pay some money for all the migrants, but still very important in terms of human development for migrants. So allowing more family reunification would mean families are more likely to bring all their asset, wealth to the nation, which would drive investment and development because they believe parents left behind will bring some money to join their family in New Zealand. Does it make sense? So it's kind of a human capital anyway. And also important for child care for younger migrant. Otherwise, those costs the government needs to pay. The society needs to take hold the burden when younger migrants have their children. So they just allow their parents to come to Australia, New Zealand, and living together and looking after themselves. That's a human capital perspective. How about the other one? Human liability perspective. Regardless, many migrant parents have gone to emergency support public health service. They come here, but because of their age particularly and the difficulties they're facing, society has to pay some money. Like one older person coming to Australia, people believe the society needed to support the person with around $400,000 until the person dies. That's another perspective. As such, bringing parents, grandparents is posing risk to the whole population simply because of their old age. We know anyway, older people, they need to go to see their doctors all the time, many times, more times, what I'm saying, than younger generation. So many people actually argue if we allow one single older migrant from another country, the society needs to prepare almost $400,000 for that person. This is kind of a human liability perspective. There are very different perspectives here you can see. The third one is about filial piety perspective. How many people know about filial piety here? You never heard? Yeah. What is that?
What is quite common in
South Asia as well societies are quite traditional and joint families. So when the parents get older, they usually live with your children, and children are required, supposed to look after them. And in contrast to West, where there are old age homes or shelter homes, we do not have these kind of institutions. So rather than sending parents to old age homes, families and children take care of them and look after them and provide all the services, all the things that are important for their survival, for their
Thank you so much. What's your name again?
Zia.
Yeah, from Chinese University, Hong Kong. Okay, that's exactly what he said actually about filial piety. But this filial piety is not very different from Western society. People normally say filial piety from China or East Asian culture, but that's not correct, to be honest. Filial piety is actually everywhere around the world. Every culture, even Western culture, doesn't matter, UK, United States, whatever. People are teaching their children to look after their parents, emotionally, psychologically, not necessarily physically. Even the Bible, Christian Bible, say you need to honor your parent. Nobody say you don't need to respect your parent. So filial piety is obviously special term from Asian country because 200 years ago or something, there is a scholar from another European country, and he actually made this term when he saw the kind of tradition, family tradition in China. But my studies say filial piety is not specific term for only East Asian countries. There are all different types of filial piety, like a parent, respect for parent, or care for parent. Even in Australia, if your parent living in residential care, you are visiting your parents every week or once a month, that's kind of filial piety from this textbook. So filial piety everywhere. What I'm saying is this kind of filial family relationship between generations. So from filial piety perspective here, to keep parents close by as they age, to have grandparents pass on culture and familial knowledge to their kids, grandchildren, and to express love for parents and grandparents in tangible, practical, intimate ways. You don't need to just love your parents. Love means you do need action. You don't need to just kind words to your parent. You do need action. Okay, just one example, just comparison. You are Christian. You respect your God. You read the Bible. That's not enough. If you want to be a Christian, because you should go to church every Sunday, even 3 times per week. So you are a church goer. Respect is not enough. You do need some action. Filial piety is the same. You do need respect, but also you do need some action. That's all filial piety about. From this, for this perspective, I just have a quote from my participant. He was Chinese, old Chinese migrant living in New Zealand. His argument is extremely clear for me anyway. Extremely clear. Maybe not plausible enough for others, not reasonable enough for others, but for me, it's still clear. the mainstream society always say that so many elderly people from China come here and take advantage of social welfare here. They don't like us, he said. And then saying that this is not correct because we, all the migrants, all the Chinese people, actually raise our children so long time, pay money for them anyway, study in New Zealand or Australia, invest all they have to my children. And now New Zealand, the government take advantage for that from there. They raise the children, make like master of social work study here, being qualified social worker here in this country, lawyers, doctors here, and the government here. They take advantages only. That's not correct for them anyway. That's not fair for them anyway, because they actually they invest all the money for the children and send them here to work, pay tax, contribute to the society. So his argument, all the people, all the migrants come to this place and it's their responsibility, children and the society, to look after us. Because we made the children here contributing to the society. You're just trying to link my comment around the international student before. Chinese parents put all their money to their own child to study UCLA and become part of a citizen here in America. I'm here because I don't have any money for my retirement because I paid all the money for my child. I don't have any child in my home country because I have only one child living in America. I am here because I have nothing in my home country. I deserve to be looked after by my child, their families, and the society taking everything from my child. I don't know whether this argument is logical enough for American society or others, but that's the argument from my participant. They sometimes feel guilty anyway being the host nation all the time, but the other way, they feel some kind of ignorance from their child and from the host society. That's the three items, three perspectives I'm talking about here. The other important issue from my presentation today is kind of trajectory of affiliate migration. Government actually focusing on this stage of the union stage of all the migration. Sometimes they believe all the migration coming to our country is very useful for their term because they are going to contribute to child care and cultural heritage for themselves. But after that, even now, they don't believe, they don't understand they are going to older and older. Our just imagination is all around here. Even you take human capital perspective. We don't believe, we know, but we don't take this perspective to trajectory perspective of all the migrant. And we don't have any kind of solutions. So that's why problems coming from here, this kind of diagram here, anyway. So if we can develop social policy programs based on this trajectory of filial migration, then possibly our practice could be different. But at the moment, this area is not developed enough. If you want to become a researcher for your PhD, this is another theoretical assumption you can take, because previous policies, previous practice around all the migration, later life migration, only based on number one, number two stages. They don't actually take third stage seriously. The problem is happening here all the time. So there's no solution at the moment. Only argument among different departments, different organizations. But if this is not your area you're interested in, then just ignore this perspective too. Okay, let me give a couple of quotes from my participant. Anyway, because we are going to talk about their challenges. Okay, my respected teaching assistant today, Troy. Could you please just read this quote for me?
Sure. In 2004, this group is Lee moved to New Zealand to live with their eldest son and his family after 6 years of retirement in Korea. They transferred all their money to their son's bank account when they came to the country. The money was used by the son for running his small business and buying a bigger house in their grandchildren's school zone. Read the next one. A few years after their arrival, Mr. and Mrs. Lee found themselves having to move out of the market rental unit with no monetary return from their son. The son and his wife are now separated through divorce. They currently live on emergency benefits without any support from their children, who are scattered across New Zealand and abroad.
This quote actually comes from my PhD study few years ago, some years ago, but it's not common. It's not isolated case. It's not isolated case. When people invite their parents normally bring all the money from their home country or part of money from their country to join their child families here. And then when they come in here, the migrant family need more space, obviously. Living together, to live together. And they use the parent money to buy a good house, particularly good school zone, because education is very, very important for migrant people. Doesn't matter in America or Australia, New Zealand, doesn't matter. So they use money from their parents. But situations change all the time, you understand. There's nothing forever in terms of their relationship. Couple of years after, their family, child families broken for some reasons. And then the parents actually had nothing because they all money actually gone to the house and other things, even their son's business. And the house was taken by the former daughter-in-law, and daughter-in-law didn't allow the parent to see their grandchildren. So they end up somewhere, like a public housing, no support from children, only living in New Zealand for a long time, using some support from the government department. That's the one of serious, but very common scenario for all the migrants if they're living in a different country. Because there is no around, no relatives, other children, or someone looking after them. This is another scenario we gathered a few years ago from Chinese, all the Chinese migrant, one of our old Chinese migrant in New Zealand. Katie, please.
I live alone. I'm feeling very lonely, very lonely. Chinese people like me. I have 3 children, but I don't know why I can't live like this. Every time I feel very sad whenever I think about this. At night, I cannot sleep, so I have to take sleeping pills. Now I have a lot of sleeping pills. I feel really sad.
Thank you so much, Gabby. She's naturally good narrator anyway. We didn't make up anyway, she just read. Okay. This is extremely concerning for researchers when we do interview with that person. She was living alone. She has children, but all around the country. One living in New Zealand, but the other one in Australia, the other one in China, something like that. And she shows a lot of sleeping pills. It's kind of threatening situation for researchers anyway. But that's the reality. Some of all the migrants face. Because you want to live with your children, but there is no children around you. So you can't go back to your home country because nothing there anymore. You're still there, but still survive because of tiny amount of money given by the government. But if you go back to your home country, there's no money from the government. The only way they believe they're just living there. That's it. That's the situation for all the migrants. Not everyone, as I said, but some of them actually facing. Living alone with only a spouse is very common. And this living arrangement were likely to provide a fertile ground for social isolation and loneliness to grow in the context of late migration. Older migrants maintain strong attachment to connections in the other way because they can use smartphone and they can join like WeChat or Kakao Talk in Korea, and they use that, and they all get information from their homeland. Some are able to use homeland social networking site, applications for their barely connected life in a foreign land, which bring to me one participant a lot of things. So I need to look the app every day, in the morning, at night. People say hello to me, give me greetings. So I should reply to them. Otherwise, I would be seen as too rude. So the participant always say, I have to reply to their message immediately after, because otherwise, in their culture, if you just ignore their message for a while, then you will be a very rude person. So this kind of message is coming from our participant all the time. So this is one actually a different point here. Those older migrants isolated seriously in the host society are still connecting with or connected with those people living in their home country because of technology. Because of technology. Some people believe this kind of technology can be termed as a filial technologies. Filial technologies. So technology actually helps all the migrants to maintain their connection with their parents, with their children and other people, particularly from home country. So this kind of filial technology, some people believe. Okay, now we can have just the last thing, couple of things before we finish. I'm not going to talk about social isolation, loneliness too much today anyway, because that's very common thing in terms of your social lives. So if you just Google or study a little bit around the topic, it will be a lot of information you can find out. Today I'm talking about filial piety in Anomic. Anomic abuse, what I'm saying. In Asian culture, Confucian teaching emphasized the value of filial piety, focusing on obligation to care or respect for their parents, or even ancestors. As I said, this is not actually Asian culture only. This is culture, universal, almost universal culture around the world. But only different thing is the term filial piety is very specific in particularly Chinese classics. So they actually developed this term for long time. But Western culture, I don't think we have any kind of textbook like that throughout generations. Only just general comment from, it's kind of general comment from the Bible about the relationship between generations. Even in an immigration context, the family is expected to serve as the most important source of informal care, support for the migrant, as you can imagine, because of particularly their cultural tradition. And children's filial obligation is more than moral, because if you sponsor your parent, this is not just ethical issue only. This is a kind of legal issue, legal obligation for children to look after their parent. Now, normal filial piety has eroded, and practice of family care support is strengthened, not only by social, cultural, and structural change, but also by individual anomic attitude toward parent. So here we can see anomic abuse. The term anomic abuse term is emerging from here. elder abuse happening all the time because of social issues, psychological issues, financial issues, or any other issues. But also this elder abuse, neglect, and abuse, abandon, coming from sense of loneliness, lost their directions due to violation of social norms by applying economic norms. Migrant, younger migrant coming to this country, their first dream is to be successful in this country, particularly financially, economically, socially. And then from there, rapid social cultural changes they are experiencing, and also monetary success than social norms is more important. And weakness of familial moral standards. Cultural imbalance cause mistreatment to their parents, not an accident, but a future of economic life. Not just one-off case, but this ongoing issue among their relationship. This type of abuse is particularly hidden because no voice from all the migrants themselves, and also no voice from no voice from migrant population. In the migrant population, this is a kind of hidden issue in terms of your social justice perspective. I'm not sure how many slides I still left, but I'm going to finish my lecture by talking about this one once more. And then after that, yeah, we can have a real break from there. So just a few minutes, I need your attention. This slide actually is very important, particularly for you if you are thinking of social justice, not necessarily for the migrant themselves, but also whole your areas, whatever. If you're talking about children, if you're talking about TV, if you're talking about LGBT, if you're talking about refugees, if you're talking about victims, whatever, this is very important slide you need to understand. Okay. This type of abuse particularly hidden because nobody knows. Then how we can identify these issues as a social work practitioner, as a researcher? Can I ask a question like again? How we can identify these issues? Give me an answer. Today is Monday? No, not Monday. Why people don't want to talk anyway? Excellent. You saved my life and you saved my bacon anyway. Okay, why? How?
Allowing people the space to talk about their stories.
Talk about their story, allowing people to talk about story. How? Thank you so much. Then how you can do that? No, I don't want to push you too much anyway. So you don't need to worry about too much. Because eventually I'm going to talk anyway. You know that. type of abuse, nobody knows anomic abuse anyway in society because the issue is still hidden, invisible in our society. But this type of abuse is not fair. It's not just. Not only for those victims, but also the family or the whole society. Any objections? Nobody. Yeah? This is not fair. That means this is an issue of social justice, sometimes human rights. Because the right violated by abuse. Because of the situation, seriousness of the situation, this must be identified by someone else. By whom? Unfortunately, that's you. You are a social work practitioner, you are social work researcher. Researchers, particularly in the social work area, should be able to identify this kind of invisible social justice issues. Okay, if you don't agree with me now, then you can stay here anyway. But please take my message seriously. The researchers trying to listen to people's voice. Social workers, practitioners always are listening to their clients' voices like that. That's your job. Not only my job, but also your job. If you don't believe, if you don't develop your social work imagination like this, you need to have time for reflection again once you return to your home country. There is one area you don't know, never thought about, is anomic abuse. Researchers, particularly social work researchers, practitioners, need to identify an invisible issues around social justice and human rights. Does it make sense? You can be a researcher if you want. Do PhD to get a license for your research. Troy Gabby, think about PhD. You can do, if you want, can do research. Once your researcher find out, identify these issues, then theorists like me, academics, or someone who actually conceptualizing these issues, make the concept. Like anomic abuse. Conceptualize the issue, facing all the migrants living in Australia and New Zealand without any support from their parents, their children, family, here or there. And then this kind of issue become conceptualized as anomic abuse. That's the job for academics, researchers, academics. Your lecturers, like Amy, she's get paid because she's doing this kind of job. Your lecturers doing this kind of research and conceptualize the issue or phenomena. We call social work, research, and theorists. Make a theory about anomic abuse. Then how we can help actually those old migrants. There are two parties around that. In addition to researchers and theorists, there are two parties. One, policymakers. Policymakers, they need to make a program to prevent, to tackle this anomic abuse based on evidence from researchers, theorists. They do have evidence now about anomic abuse here. Because this is invisible social justice issue in our society. And researchers got evidence about that. So social policymakers, we do need to make a program to prevent this anomic abuse in our society. I'm not talking about Australia or New Zealand only. It's happening everywhere, even in the same country like China. There is internal migrant living in the big city, just left behind sometimes in the countryside, different type of migration over there. So everywhere anomic abuse is happening. And social policymakers make programs or other policies to prevent this anomic abuse. Once you have programs or any other regulations, measures, then social work practitioner come forward. Because you understand programs, you understand any government measures, or you understand the theory here, you don't need to practice properly. That's social work professional's job. That's social work practitioner's job now. So as a social worker, when you have a migrant parent here, you do have another question to check. Particularly their relationship with their children. Whether they are experiencing a kind of abuse by their children or not. Because researchers, theorists, policymakers always saying there is possibility as an older migrant to experience kind of abuse by someone else once you move to another country. Because there's anomic phenomenon among themselves because of cultural breakdown over there. There's no supervision by relatives, their own communities, their own traditions, because new country living themselves break down in terms of their traditional cultural traditions. That's why there is likely to be happening this kind of abuse. As a practitioner, you do have a last question to ask whether their relationship is still strong enough to support each other. If you don't know this theory, you don't need to ask because you don't actually know. You don't know about that. But if you know this kind of phenomenon happening among all the migrants, you possibly want to check whenever you have an older migrant at your desk. Does it make sense? There are one researcher, second theorist, researcher, theorist, possibly the same people anyway. And then the other part, so policymakers, government party, particularly at the levels is associated with the human rights issues, then this absolutely government policy is extremely important over there. And then the other way, social work practitioners actually looking after all the migrant. Okay, what kind of professional you want to be? Researchers, policymakers, practitioners. Yep. Practitioners. Excellent choice, but that's not my answer. At the beginning, I spoke to you that you are going to be a social work leader. My assumption here, everyone, at least you have master degree now or in the future, near future. As a social work leader globally, you do need to have all of them. At least you need to be able to demonstrate your understanding about those roles. That's your responsibility. Not my responsibility anymore because I'm getting older. I'm going to be your client. That's your responsibility as a next leader. That's why we pay money for your flight, not the whole money, but some money anyway. That's why we are doing this kind of international network, because we want to spread out our ideas, inspiration, even aspiration to bring, to nurture our next generation. This you are here this morning. It's very sleepy, I understand that. It's not very much enjoyable in terms of my accent or enjoyable in terms of my topic, but you're still here. Don't listen to him anyway, please. But what did he say? You didn't. Anyway, that's my message I want to give you today anyway. The rest of slides, I don't know how many I have, but you can double check if you want. Just follow or just follow up my lecture from here, or you can use your email because Trey and Gabby, they know my email address, obviously, and Amy know my email address again. The last thing is I just want to enjoy your the rest of your program, your attendance here by thinking about my two terms. One, filial piety, intergenerational solidarity. Thinking about your parents. Did you pay money by yourself? Or your parents support yourself? Or your parents make you be here? Did you think about your grandparents? You don't know grandparents? Or you want to know who they are? Did you know your grandparents? What looks like their lives? And how you can use their wisdom and their legacy. How you can conceptualize, how you can capitalize again on what they have before. Your lecturer today said he's feeling rich enough because he has a lot of resources from his ancestors. Why not? And he also said he's going to prepare something after he dies for the next generation. So he still have meaningful life, even he's going to die sooner or later. That's intergenerational solidarity, filial piety. And the other way, Anomic abuse. More importantly, this is invisible social justice issues around the country. Identify the issues, conceptualize the issues, practice on these issues. It's all your job, not my job. It's your job because you are here, because you are a social work leader, because you actually are privileged to be here by support given by your parent, given by your university, and given by your home country. That's all message I wanted to give you today anyway. And then thank you so much for your attention. Thank you so much.
Thank you so very much to Dr. Park. Can we give him another round of applause? That was a beautiful lecture that reminds us about some very important legacies, about colonial legacies and the relationship to overseas abandonment, and also reminding us to uplift our elders and think toward our ancestors. And so I think lots of beautiful food for thought for our workshop. And thank you again so much. So we will transition to our break a little bit and we'll shift a little bit the program. Yes. Yes, we can. So would folks like to do a few questions before we move to our break? Or should we come back? So could you please, I think what we could do is if you could please note down the questions that you have, and then we can reconvene and we will start with a set of questions and then have some time for breakout sessions to discuss some of these themes before lunch. Okay, thank you so very much.
Thank you.